Hello, awesome artists. Welcome back to school. So happy to be here. This week, we are going to work on an art project that also is an art contest from the California Coastal Commission, and it's called the Coastal Art and Poetry Contest. So I'm going to talk about how to do the entry and what to do for that in another video, and I will post everything. I'm going to go over some things that we have done and remind you what you know how to do, and then I will talk a little bit about composition, something we haven't focused on a lot, but we're going to a little bit this time. So one of the first things we learned about was texture, implied or actual, and we made rubbings and used the texture. I had some kids make use the texture and make a collage, which is one of the ways that you can make your art for this coastal art project. We know how to do crayon resist, right, with watercolors. You know how to use line to show shapes. You know how to use value, show the darkness and lightness of colors or just black and white. You know how to use position on the paper. So the focus is probably this up close, right? And then you show depth by making things smaller. We did these cute snowmen. They were foreshortening from the ground up. There are diagonals here, makes it way more interesting and kind of exciting and gives it movement. If you compare that one to this one, this is very static, meaning there's no movement there. Nothing's happening, everything's just in place. This one, we also learned that you don't have to just paint on regular white paper. This would be good for collage if you're going to use collage. This one shows some movement with the steps and by these trees kind of weaving to the back. We showed depth, and it's not just something floating in the middle. Now, if you want to do collage, you could use anything, any kind of paper for collage. This is something I'm sort of working on. And so that's a torn book, but these little pieces are literally envelopes that are ripped open. The insides are kind of cool. So here's a couple of tips for composition. A good thing to do in composition is to overlap shapes when you draw them. And if you overlap them, you probably want to hide the shape that's below it. So you need to think about that when you draw. This is kind of interesting. Your eye wants to go around the composition. Do not do things like this. You don't want, this is touching like that. It doesn't make sense. It would be much better if it was overlapped. So, you also don't just want things kind of all over the place because they don't look like they go together. They are isolated shapes on your paper. You can also do something called cropping, and that might be where, you have some of it go off of the paper. It goes to the edge, perhaps. Maybe this covers that up. Obviously, you would need, let's see, maybe I'll put some, I'll go that way. And composition is kind of funny, everybody kind of has their own idea, but that looks a little bit more interesting. So diagonals create this energy and movement in a composition. You also want to have a focal point. You can use other lines in there to move your eye to the focal point also. I see this a lot with kids. You just want to put something in the middle of the page, kind of floating. Not always the best idea. It's static, it's kind of boring. So you might think about, turning your image a little bit. You need to fill in the space when you make this art for the coastal art. You need to fill in your paper. It doesn't have to be a full sheet. You can do half of a sheet of paper. You can do landscape. You can do vertical. You could probably even do square if you wanted to. So you have lots of different options. And I think that's it.